Hi guys, Jordan from P&P Campers. I'm just going to do your handover video on this Carthago motorhome. So based on the 2016 3-litre turbo diesel Fiat Ducato automatic, and you know, as far as specs go, in this particular case, it doesn't really get much better than this. So if I start you under the bonnet, these A classes are particularly difficult to get into, if I'm honest with you. I'm just going to clean the camera screen up a little bit. So yeah, I mean, they are difficult to get into. So when you come to having it serviced, just have it done by a proper garage, they'll be able to do it. So we have had it serviced. So all of the oil has been changed, things like that. Everything's good. So over on the left-hand side there, we've got your power steering fluid, engine coolant, and your brake fluid up there in that top reservoir. You've then got access to filling up your washer fluid just here on the outside, which has been quite cleverly put in by Carthago. The oil filling point is this little nut just here, and your dipstick will be just around there somewhere. Where is it? There you go. The red top one just down there is your oil dipstick. So in this particular case, these chassis have the engine battery under the floor in the cab. So if you want to jump start it, you've got a little point just here. So you undo this little bit here, and then so that's your positive terminal for the engine battery there. And you've got an earthing point. If I just try and find that, your earthing point would normally be around there somewhere. So any of these little bits down here will do for a good earth. But yeah, that's basically the idea behind jump starting it, is that you've got a positive terminal just there, so you can jump start the vehicle from there nice and easily. Now this one has got the VB air suspension, so if you ever needed to top up any side, you can do so from there. That's to do with the air suspension, as I say. I will run you through how that all works when we get inside in a little while, but I mean, this is going to be a fairly long video, just due to the fact that it's got so much on it. Okay, so you've got your branded Carthago wheels there. It is a tag axle motorhome. It is a real beast of a thing. The air suspension does mean that you can kind of manipulate the vehicle however you need to, so you can really sort of drive this way off grid. There is an off-road mode there. You can raise it and lower it wherever you want to. But yeah, as I say, I'll show you how to do that when we get inside. So on the near side in the cab, you've got the bonnet release handle, is this one just down here. You've got a light switch just there, and a 12-volt socket underneath that, cup holder, and all of your sort of really nicely branded Carthago bits and pieces. As for this side, apart from a few other storage bits and pieces, that is about it really. The seats are absolutely lovely, really nice leather, super comfortable for long distance driving. You've obviously got the kind of lorry style or bus style wing mirrors there, which give you really good vision. Probably tell there we've got the satellite up there, which again, branded Carthago, just sort of shows the amount of effort that goes to making these vehicles. So the fuel filling point, it's diesel only, so there's no AdBlue to worry about. The diesel filling point is just there behind the passenger entrance door, and don't worry, these aren't scratches, it's just where it was wet yesterday driving it back. So yeah, fuel filling point just there behind the passenger door. You've then got an absolutely massive storage locker down here. Now this is a double skinned motorhome. So double skinned means you've got two separate floors basically. So the floor that you actually stand on when you're inside the vehicle, as you can see, is just there at this level here, where this piece of wood is. And then you've got the secondary floor, which is about half a foot lower, which gives you well, two things: amazing storage underneath. So you've got literally the whole second skin there is storage right the way through. Lockers on both sides, that goes through all the way to the very back as well. So you get tons and tons of storage, but you also get double insulation. So it's almost like an airlock, if you like. So you know how a house has got cavity walls, so you've got cavity between the two, the external and the internal wall. It's very, very similar in the way that it works here. So you've also got, with that, you can see there the pipe and that little sort of radiator thing. That is literally a radiator, and what that does is it basically warms up the floor underneath. It's not underfloor heating as such, it's not really made to do that, but with the Aldi central heating, the wet central heating, you do kind of get an underfloor heating kind of feeling, because it's heating up underneath there so much that it does get warm in there. So, you know, they've thought about quite literally everything. On that same, I will obviously carry on to the rest of it in a second, but we did find out that these pipes just here are the type of pipes there. So you can see there, they run into the vehicle, they go through there from under the bonnet and into the vehicle. They actually come through here and into the engine and are attached to the Audi heating system. So when you use the heating system, it actually warms the engine up. You can isolate that. There's isolating tabs all throughout the vehicle, so you can isolate that if you want to. But if you're going to go to a seriously cold climate, you know, I'm talking seriously cold, you can actually use your Audi heating system and it will warm the engine up before you start trying to start the vehicle up. Now, we've had a couple of Concords here before that have had the same kind of idea, but I wasn't aware until now that the Carthagos did that as well. So that's a pretty cool thing to sort of know about this one. I think they call it the Polar package, from what the buyer of this vehicle has sort of let me know. But there you go, that's what we've got here. So we've got the gas locker down here now. So this is a twin refillable gas system. This is a Gassit system. Gassit is the same as Gaslow, really. Pretty much the same sort of systems. So you've got an isolator on the top of each bottle, one there and one there. So it does tell you on the top, but I'll just show you. So anti-clockwise round to the left will turn the bottles on. So when you are coming to use these, you want to turn them all the way on, and clockwise all the way down will turn the bottles off. So if I just quickly run you through the pipe work here. So we've got this one main pipe that comes across here to the filling point on the outside. That comes up through there, over to here, and then gets split off from this T-piece down this one and into the other one. So when you fill this system up from the one bayonet fitting down here, it fills both the bottles up at the same time. You've then got the two pigtails, which are these two rubber ones. Yeah, I mean, this is still sort of rubber, but these two here, 2023 dated on those. And they're the ones that feed the regulator and actually send the gas into the vehicle. So much like the rest of the vehicle, the regulator is the top spec as well. So you've got the crash sensor on here. It probably will say that. Yeah, it does say that over there. But it's basically a sort of clever system that will, or should, isolate the gas if you are in a crash. Now, I would always recommend, always turn the bottles off before you start driving. That's just something that I would always say, just in case. But if you don't, you've got the crash sensor. So you've got a changeover valve there as well. So at the moment, our changeover is pointing to the right, which means that this bottle here is prioritized in the use inside. You can use it so that it goes up to the middle, and that should use both. But if you just wanted to use one for now, you can do that. The other thing is the little green button down here. When you first start to use the gas, when you turn the bottle on, you've got to press and hold on this little green button here for 3 seconds, and that will basically just purge the gas through that crash sensor and allow it to come into the vehicle. But there you go. All right, so that's the gas just there. Inside the gas locker, you've got the pressure for the tyres as well. Now, whether or not they're the original type of tyres that were meant for this one, I'm not sure, but Michelin's all round as well, just so you can see that as well. So, you know, no expense has been spared on this one whatsoever. So I'm going to carry on now. So as I said, you've got the Aldi heating system, or Alda, however you want to say it. So this is essentially a wet central heating system, just like in a house. So the way that it works is you've essentially got a boiler, just like at home, and various radiators around the whole vehicle that are sort of tucked away and hidden. So the boiler heats up the water, pump inside the boiler pumps the water around to the radiators, and that's how you get the heating in this vehicle. It's not blown air heating like the Truma systems. This is completely different, where it's wet central heating. Now, a lot of the German and bigger vehicles, I even think Bailey has started using this a little bit now as well, but mainly on the bigger vehicles such as this one. The big plus side to having Aldi heating is that when you turn this off, the radiators are going to stay hot for as long as it takes for the water to cool down. So it will stay a lot warmer for a lot longer once you've turned it off than it would in, say, a Truma heating system. It does take a little while to warm up in comparison, but you know, there's pros and cons to all of that sort of stuff. But these are absolutely fantastic, and very, very rarely give us any trouble at all. So very reliable as well. So that's the vent for that there. You've then got this one just here. If I just show you, we're just towards the back now. This is your freshwater filling point. So if you wanted to have some fresh water in the tank to allow you to draw any water through to the boiler or to the taps, that's where you want to fill up, just there. Now, I think you've got twin fresh tanks on this one, or at least it says so on the control panel. So that's another sort of thing I just thought I'd point out. So absolutely gigantic garage at the back, as you would come to expect really on something like this. So you've got all the original carpets in there. We always just take them up and leave them in the garage, just so that you can see the floor is in, you know, good condition. Plus, in this particular vehicle, there's plenty of little vents and bits and pieces that I need to show you when we get inside anyway. So you've got a smaller locker on this near side at the back. Just thought I'd point out as well, you've got the original Waco reversing camera up there, which is one of the ones that will basically cover itself up when you turn it off, and it'll move as and where it needs to. So yeah, that's about it for the back. Okay, so this offside garage locker, or garage door really, is a lot bigger. You can see here as well, if I just jump in. So this is where the majority of your electronic fiddly bits are, if you like. So basically, if you ever needed to sort of well, if you wanted to have a look yourself, then you can do that from here. But if you ever have any sort of electrical issues whatsoever, then it's more than likely going to be an issue back here. Now, obviously, fingers crossed that won't ever happen, and everything's working as it should at the moment. But this is where you come to if you have an electrical problem. Now, in this particular vehicle, we've got, I think there's 4 or 5 solar panels on the roof. Now, I think the previous owner's gone, just gone all out, if you like, on the solar power, which is great. So we've got this massive solar controller in here. Now, you don't have to do anything with this. This is literally just, this is what it is kind of thing. You don't have to press any buttons or do anything like that. So that'll just flash away all the time that there's power coming in through the solar panels. You can see it's a nice sunny day today, so that's going to be chucking in a fair amount of power. So that's what that is just there on the right. You've also got an external hot and cold water point or shower point just in here as well. At the top of this little unit here, we've got the battery charger. So I've got the hookup plugged in at the moment, which is why we've got the little red light coming on in there. So that's what that is. You've then got your 240 volt trip switches just in there, and your 12 volt fuses. So all CBE branded, which is all sort of really top quality stuff. So CBE battery charger, CBE fuses, and CBE trip switches. And so that's where all of that sort of stuff is there. So if you ever get any issues whatsoever, as I said, it's more than likely going to be in here. Right, So I'll just push that to for a minute. As you can see, you've got the hookup plugged in to the hookup point down here. Now having that hookup plugged in is really, really handy because it means that then you can use any 240 volt appliances. So that's why you would mainly use that. It also means that you don't, I mean, I know you've got plenty of solar power on the roof, but having the hookup plugged in just gives you extra sort of peace of mind that you never have to worry about the leisure battery because it's always going to be completely topped up. Okay, so full size 2-lay wind out awning up there, as you can see, really, really nice condition. It's not scratched up as you might, you know, some of the sort of bigger vehicles, you'll find big long scratches along these, but absolutely nothing on that at all. Decals are absolutely fantastic as well. Really, really nice little sparkle in those. So we've got the next locker along is your Thetford toilet cassette. Now the toilet cassette is super simple. This has got a SOG system fitted to it as well, by the looks of it. Now all you have to do to use this is lift it out just like that, just sort of lifting up on the little orange handle there to pull it out. You will have to pull this little valve out from here in order to pull this all the way out. But basically, once you've done that, you take this cap off and you drain it out from here. There's a little orange button at the back of here as well, which you need to hold down as you empty it out because that's a pressure release valve. You do, I mean, I would always recommend using the blue fluid inside here anyway, but a lot of the time with these SOG units, you don't really have to use it, the blue fluid, but I find that it just helps anyways, you know, helps with smells and things. So blue fluid inside the actual cassette itself, about a cap full. But as I say, you've got the SOG unit. If you don't want to use that, that's fine. So these two big vents just here, they say Dometic on them. That's to do with your fridge. And you have got the winter covers fitted to it at the moment. You can normally just undo them with the key. There you go. So these just pull off nice and easily like that. So that is how you have to have it if you want to use the fridge. If you don't take these off, the fridge probably won't light up on gas anyway, but if it does light up, it will take a very, very long time to actually start working. So I'm going to leave those on for now just so you can keep them up. I'll put it on when I've got two hands in a minute. Okay, so that's what those two are there. That's both to do with your fridge. And then last but not least, we've got this locker on the outside. This is the one that I showed you from the other side a minute ago. These are the sort of pipes that I'm saying about. These are all to do with your heating. Yeah, there you go. So the little boxes in here, now this, you don't have to sort of know about this or anything like that, but I will just mention it just in case anybody ever needs to know. So that there inside this little cupboard here is what's called your D+ box. Okay, so what that does essentially is, funnily enough, it actually powers and works the external lights. All right, so you might think that's all just a Fiat thing, but it's not, because it's obviously being converted from a base vehicle into this massive motorhome. They actually have to fit what they call a D+ box. All right, so tells you up there what it is anyway, but you've got 3 little 5-amp fuses. So if ever you find that all of one side of the lights, so the side lights are the ones I'm talking about, if you ever find that all of those just stop working on one side or the other, it's more than likely an issue in there. All right, just in case you ever sort of needed to know that, I just thought I'd let you know that's where it is. Okay, don't think there's anything else I can show you on the outside really. As I say, this is going to be a fairly long video because it's quite a big van, but there we go. Okay, so the first thing to mention is how well insulated this vehicle is. Now a lot of the sort of bigger brands like this, like Carthago, Concorde, that sort of thing, will, as you can see here, carpet line absolutely everything. So this whole thing, not only is it super thick insulation anyway because it's so well winterized, but absolutely even the ceiling, that It's all carpet lined. So, you know, just things like that. And having the second skin, so your double skin floor, you know, this is pretty well as good as it gets when it comes to sort of off-grid and sort of vehicles that are built to do absolutely anything. This is about it. So first thing I'm going to do is run you through the cab. So because it's sort of separate to the back of the vehicle. Okay, so what we got? So we're on the automatic chassis, as I said, and it's on the 3-litre Fiat Ducato engine. Now these automatics are ridiculously easy to use once you've got the hang of it. So where we are up there in the top right hand side is neutral. All right, so all the time that you're up, you can't go any further up or over to the right. We're up in neutral, and when you've got the ignition on, it will tell you that on the dash. It will say N. To put it into drive, pull it down to the middle and let go of it. It will then go over there to the left, and that is then in your driving mode. So that's either in automatic or manual mode. If you want it in manual mode, press it once over to the left, and the little A from the center screen there will go away, and it will just show you a number. So when that happens, that means that you can then use this up and down like that to sort of Tiptronic, if you like. It will go through the gears for you. You can do it manually like that. If you do want it in automatic mode, once over to the left again, and your little A will come back up onto the screen just there. To get it into reverse, over to the right again and down, and that then selects your reverse. The little button just there behind the gear stick is only on the automatics, and that is for when you're going uphill basically. So you can kind of, it's like a hill assist kind of, I think it essentially keeps you in a lower gear to save you sort of running out of power if you're going up somewhere really steep. Although this is based on the, you know, the 3-litre, so I'd be very surprised if you do have to use that. So that's the automatic. Cruise control is from this little stalk down here on the left hand side of the steering wheel. You've got the air conditioning from this switch just here, and all the modern the latest chassis, or well, not the latest, but the you know, more modern kind of heater system just there. You've got the downhill hill ascent kind of thing there, and that's something to do with the TomTom, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to have a little look into that. I always forget what that one is, but anyway, so you got the lock and unlock button from here, and your hazard warning lights from there. So we've also got this little piece here. This is what allows your radio to work. All right, so if I just go up from the top first, once you plug that in, the radio will then be allowed to work. Right.
Next stop, City.
Unplugging that just like that is what we do, because it then means that your radio is never going to drain your battery out by accident or anything. So I'm going to show you a bit more into that in just a minute. So you've got the reversing camera over here, again nicely branded, and I did say that I was going to look into these. I have looked into these, and I absolutely cannot work out what they do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask somebody, a specialist that we know round here, to see if I can get any more insight into what these 3 switches do, but truthfully I can't get them to do anything at all. So I'm going to ask and sort of ask around a little bit, see if I can find out about that. If I can't find out, then I'm sorry, but I just I can't find anything that they do. The air suspension stuff here needs the engine to be running in order to use it, so I'll show you that towards the end, and you know, I'll show you how that all works properly. So, oh, and by the way, the reason I'm not going to show you right now is because when you've got the hookup cable plugged into a vehicle, you shouldn't really start the engine because it can overload the batteries with power. So right, I'll show you that at the end. So as soon as you walk in, you've got your control panel here above the door. So All the time that your control panel is switched on, it will be showing you some things on the screen here. So at the moment, it's showing us a little flashing light down here, which is telling you that the fresh tank is empty. So anytime that you see a little diagram here, that's a water tank, and there's no drain in the bottom of it, that means fresh tank. All right, so the fresh tank is completely empty, and I will show you how you can sort of deal with that in just a minute, how that works. You then also got external and internal temperature. So you can see there, I mean, I've not had the heating on at all in the vehicle. It's 2 degrees warmer in here, and I literally haven't even done anything at all to sort of make that happen. So again, just showing you how well insulated it is. You've got the time on here, which you can adjust. You can change that if you want to. Couple of other things. You've got the electric hookup symbol over here, and you've got your leisure battery voltage just there. So if I want to see both batteries, we can click on this very left hand button here. Engine battery voltage on the left hand side, engine on the left hand side, leisure on the right. So 14 volts in the leisure battery. That's because we've got the hookup plugged in, and that charger is doing its job and keeping you nice and fully topped up. You've then got your water levels. So you got 0% in the fresh tank, and as I say, this is your secondary fresh tank. So 0% in both of those. Press it again, and we can see that we've got 0% in the waste tank as well. Okay. So the next button, this little music symbol, I'll just turn that off quickly. So what I'm going to do now quickly is plug the stereo back in. It shouldn't turn on now. Okay, so the stereo there is quite clever how it works. If you start the engine up or turn the ignition on, it will come on just like a normal stereo, all right, as you come to expect. But if you turn the engine off, it should turn off. You can also use the stereo, and this is the same switch here to use the TV. You can use it via your leisure battery or the back end power. So if I turn this little music symbol on now, if you watch the stereo, it should come to life. There you go. And then we'll get the radio playing. For some reason it's a little bit noisy. All right, so that's how you can use that. So if I turn that power off again now, you can see there we've got the TV power on as well. If I turn this little music symbol off, radio turns off. Okay, so that's the idea behind that. It means that you can use your stereo system via the leisure battery power and not have to worry about draining your engine battery out. Okay, so that's a really, really cool feature. I think, I mean, there are a few other vehicles that do that, and a lot of auto sleepers have that sort of functionality as well. But to have it sort of integrated up there on the control panel is really nice. So you've then got internal light switch on and off from there, water pump, and tank heaters for the gas, I think that is. Yeah, pretty sure that is what it is, to stop any of that sort of freezing up in there. I can double check that for you in the paperwork, but I'm pretty certain that's what it is. So that's the control panel. It's very, very simple to use, to be fair. And once you've got the hang of using that, you'll nail it on the back of your hand. So next door to that, we've got the Audi heating system, and you can turn it on from there. It's a 3020. So at the moment, we've got the hookup plugged in, and it's telling us that up there as well. So if I go through here, as soon as you press on menu, it will bring you up this little screen here, which is the main one that you want to sort of know how to use. So at the top here, we've got your temperature setting. So, I mean, I had it turned up really high just to kind of show that it's working, if you like, the other day. So you can set it to whatever temperature you want to. You've then got the hot water. So if you want the hot water to be working, you've got either 1 or 2, and that's normally, in other words, sort of like high or boost. So if you don't want the hot water on, I don't want it on at the moment because I know there's no water in it. You've then got the two bottom ones here, so this bottom one just here is to use it on the gas. So if I turn this on now, the gas should light up because I've got the temperature set to a higher temperature than it is inside. Okay, so I've got it set to 25 and it is 12. So now that I've turned the gas on, I've given it a certain energy to use, it should light up as it's just done there. And now all of the little radiators that are dotted around the vehicle, behind seats and kind of under the floor and all in various places, will now have warm water pumping through to them. Okay. If you didn't want to use it on the gas, you can turn it off from gas there. That'll switch the boiler off now. If you've got the mains cable plugged in, you can use it on the mains instead. So you've got 1, 2 or 3 kilowatts of electric power. Now the only thing I will mention on that particular point is that if you are planning on using it on electric, I would never ever suggest using it on 3 kilowatt. And the reason I say that, I mean obviously they put it there because you can use it, it's absolutely fine. But if you use 3 kilowatts on the Audi heating system, it's going to be drawing roughly 10 amps of power. All right, so if we think at the moment where I'm plugged into the power socket out there, it's probably going to be a 13 amp socket. All right, so if I'm drawing 10 amps of power from that one appliance up there on 3 kilowatt, I've only then got 3 amps to play with. So by the time I've got the fridge on, that's an amp, and anything else plugged in to a main socket, you know, you're going to be pretty close to overloading that and it's going to trip. So you're better off using it on 1 or 2 kilowatts, because I think one's something like 3 or 4 amps and two's sort of like 7 or 8. And then you've got a lot more power to sort of play with before it's going to overload it. Now, if you do overload it, for example, if you have it on 3 kilowatts and you have a kettle plugged in somewhere and whatever, if you do overload it, it shouldn't trip inside the vehicle. It should trip the thing that you're plugged into. So if you're on a campsite, it will trip the where you plug in. They'll have a trip next to it. So it's not the end of the world, but it's just something I like to mention. So if I turn the gas off there, so that's showing blue, and the electric off there, all showing blue, it means that the system is completely off. All right, so for the time being, I might just have it on actually, just for a minute, just to get it all nice and warm and, you know, double check it's all working properly. So as I said, I've got the temperature set to 25 up there, so that's going to come on, and I've just selected gas. So that should now light up again and start pumping the hot water around. You probably just heard it there, it just lit up. Okay, so that's all of your heating and hot water and stuff up there, and the control panel. You've then got the satellite dish on the roof. So we have reinstated that. The previous owner had taken that off just to get it into a local garage of his, because it does make it a little bit higher. We've put it back on and it works absolutely lovely. So as you can see there, Astra 1, and it has locked onto that because it's not searching anymore. It does come up saying sat OK when it's locked on. At the moment, I'm having a little bit of trouble getting it to actually sort of correspond down to the TV, but I'll have that sorted by the time you collect. So to actually turn it on, all you have to do, as I said, is well, actually all you have to do is turn the on and off switch on here on this little teleco thing, and select whichever satellite you want it to choose. It has locked on really nicely to Astra 1. Astra 1, the only slight downside to that is that I think that's more of a European satellite. I'm no expert, but I think you'll find that you'll get more sort of Spanish and Italian and French channels than you will English. But you know, it has locked onto that really well. It didn't really lock on very well to any of the others, so that's probably the one it's been sort of wired up to, if you like. The power unit for the satellite is this one just here, so that's this white box. So if ever you find that absolutely everything stops working all of a sudden, it will just be the little 5 amp fuse that sits on the top. All right, just so you know that. So that's those two just there, nice and easy. You've also got, in relation to that, down here in this little lift up cupboard, a little box here says Teleco on it. Now this will only come on when you turn that radio switch on the control panel, but that's what this little Teleco box is here. So this is basically it's plugged into the HDMI point on the TV. So when you come to selecting the source on the TV, you want to choose HDMI. But when you turn that on, that box down there is basically your sort of receiver box. That's the one that you press the buttons on to select your channels. Okay, so you've got two remotes, an Alphatronics one just here, which is the actual one for the TV, so that's the one that turn the TV on and off, and a Teleco one, which is the one that you have to aim down there in order to select your channels. Okay, so once you've selected HDMI and you've turned this on, it'll come on and sort of spring to life. So that is the TV section there. As I said, when you turn that music switch on just there, it will give you power to the TV and to the radio. But yeah, that's that. We're not really, you know, huge experts on the satellite systems, if I'm honest, but this one has worked faultlessly. It's just literally turned straight on, locked straight onto the correct satellite, and that's it really. That's good. Okay, so the little hatches in the floor, I'm going to run you through those quickly. So what we've got over here in this big hatch by the bed is your fresh tank, which is the white one at the back, and the waste tank, which is the black one just here closest. So the only things I really need to run you through, if I'm honest, on these is that you've got the drain off point. It has got a little diagram showing you exactly how to use it, but this is how you drain the fresh tank out. Okay, so I'm not going to touch that because it is already empty, but this hatch here really just gives you access to the tank, so you can undo that. If you've got two hands, you can undo it. So fresh tank there at the back, waste tank here. To drain the waste tank out, you've got this handle just here. Okay, so this handle here is how you drain out the waste tank. So super easy to get to those. A lot of the time, most motorhomes, you have to sort of lay down on the floor, get underneath to empty out those tanks, but you've got them nice and easy to get to inside. Not much to point out in there. Okay, so I'm going to get onto the appliances now. So what we've got is your oven and grill system up here. So push in and round to the right to get the grill to light up. The only thing I will say about these is that you've just got to make sure that the other side of this little grill here has lit up as well. As you can see it in the reflection there, you can see that it has lit up. So just make sure of that. That's working really well. So that's in and round to the right. In and round to the left will light up your oven. Now it is only small. It's not the biggest oven and grill in the world, but it'll do the job for you. And you will find that's very typical of a German vehicle. They don't tend to have, you know, all the big ovens and things like that. We've got the absolutely massive separate fridge freezer. This is a Dometic AES fridge. So AES stands for Automatic Energy Selector, and it means that you can basically, when you turn it on here on the main switch on the left, you can leave it on this automatic function here, and it should automatically choose the best energy to cool the fridge down. So it has done that straight away. We've chosen automatic, and it's selected 240 volt electric. So that's when you've got the hookup plugged in. So that's absolutely perfect. If it was me right now, I would be using it on mains as well, because we've got the mains plugged in, so you might as well. If you didn't want to use it on the mains, you can override that and press another one, which this one here is gas. So now the fridge will light up on gas. Probably just heard it there. And that's all you have to do on that one. You just press the button, make sure it lights up, and that's it. You just leave it alone. And we've got this one here, which is giving us a fault code because the engine isn't running. Okay, so what we've got is 12 volt for when your engine's running, gas for when you've got the gas on but you haven't got the mains plugged in, and mains for when you've got the mains plugged in. So the idea is, behind these fridges, especially these bigger ones like this, is that you need to pre-cool them before you start driving off. Okay, so if you were going to go on holiday tomorrow morning, I would always recommend either hook the vehicle up for a little while, so hook it up the night before ideally, leave it on the mains with all your stuff in it. By the morning it'll all be cold, and all you have to do is switch over to 12 volt. If you leave it on automatic, it should switch over to that one for you anyway, but there you go. So that's how you use the fridge. Very, very simple. Yeah, that's about it really. So I'll turn it off just by pressing and holding on the switch there. So you've got a nice big pull-out drawer cupboard up there. One of these cupboards doesn't open, just so that you know, this one here. So I think it's going to be something to do with the fact that there's sort of gas pipes and things behind there, but that one there is just for show by the looks of it. So we've not really had one of these particular vehicles in before, so there are a few things that we're learning about it as well. But yeah, there you go. Absolutely tons of storage overhead and down low in all of these massive lockers. You've obviously got your huge overcab bed there as well, which does just pull down. You've got a manual lock basically, so it's super strong. It's not going to rattle around and smash on your head when you're driving, as long as you've pushed it up and locked it properly. Right, so we've got cooker over here, so this will light up nice and easily just like that. You've got an ignition for it on here as well, typical sort of Carthago style, having all of the extras like that. So that's what that is there. The only thing I will point out about that is to make sure that you've left it to cool down before you start trying to put the lid down. If you don't allow it to cool right down, you can sometimes find that the lid will shatter. Now I know that these are sort of made to get warm. They are specific glass, but the trouble is, because some motorhomes do get quite chilly inside when you haven't had the heating on, when it's so hot underneath and so cold on top, glass just doesn't really stand a chance. It will just shatter. So make sure that you leave these burners to cool right down before putting the lid down, like so. The rest of the drawers, absolutely huge amounts of storage. I'm just trying to see if there's anything I need to show you. Some bins in there. Okay, so gas isolators. So what we've got is boiler, fridge and cooker, and your 3-burner hob. So the reason that the fridge and the cooker are in the same isolation point is because they're running off the same gas feed, because they're one on top of the other. So that's your gas isolators there. You just turn them 90 degrees and that'll isolate the gas from those specific appliances. The bottom of this little thing here is also a chopping board, just in case you didn't know that. So you can put this back in upside down. If you don't do it skew whiff like I did. Put it in upside down like that and you've got a nice chopping board there. Just another little thing that they've thought about. So this will go back in nicely like this as well. So you can have that down like so if you want to. Okay, so that's that section there. You have also got the coffee machine extra on this one, which pulls down from the top. I love that, I think that's so cool. So yeah, power runs up there to that. We have actually just, funnily enough, just got another one of these Carthagos in a different, slightly different layout, but it has actually got, at first I thought that was just an aftermarket thing and that, you know, there's no way that they could have done that from new, but the other one's got the exact same thing, so it is literally an optional extra from new. So whoever bought this vehicle new really did go all out on the extras, which is always a good thing. So you've got your shower unit in here, obviously a completely separate shower, so you can completely close this off. It's in the lock position at the moment for driving. This door here on your right hand side, when you open it up, you can pull it all the way over like so, and it will basically completely lock up, so you can use the lock here to close the door up. And what this will do is it will separate the front from the back, and also give you access to the toilet here, so that you don't have to be seen from the other side. So bathroom here, nice and simple. There's not really a huge amount to run through. The toilet itself is normally the only bit that I actually run through, because it's sometimes the thing that people haven't used before. In this particular vehicle's case, this here is the radiator for the bathroom, just in case you didn't realise that. So if you press the little blue button over here, that's the one there that you need to press in order to get your flush fluid pumping around. You will need your water pump switched on in order to use that. And you've got this little handle down here, which is the drain off for the cassette. So anything that goes into the bowl, open this up and it drains into the cassette. The only thing is that you need to make sure that that flap there is closed, otherwise the cassette will not come out from outside. It'll be locked in position. So I'll just pull this door back over. So absolutely stacks and stacks of paperwork in this particular vehicle. All of the original Carthago booklets and bits and pieces for that. As you can see there, came with the vehicle from new, the old coffee machine. Paperwork for all of the appliances as well. So you've got the toilet there. What's that going to be, the fridge or something? Teleco, so that's just going to show you how to use all of that if you ever needed any extra guidance on that. That's the TV. Yeah, just all of it. It's all here. And if I'm honest with you, a lot of the time, I'll put that back in a sec. A lot of the time, things like this will just sort of go missing over the years. If people own the vehicles for a couple of years, you know, things do generally go missing. But this has really been looked after, and somebody has kind of, you know, kept everything in the right place and sort of, you know, but there you go. So I'll put all of this back together in a minute in the Carthago bag and leave it in the wardrobe, so you've got all of that in one place. I've just seen there as well, you've got the Alco AMC chassis, which is always good as well, sort of like an uprated chassis. So what I will do now is I'm just going to turn off the Audi heating, switch that off from there, and I'll turn the control panel off as well. Press and hold on that, switch it off. Okay, so what I'm going to do quickly is I'm going to unplug the hookup, start the engine up, and then just quickly run you through how that the VB suspension stuff works. I mean, it is, to be fair, very simple, but I just want to show you how it works. Right, so now that I've unplugged that hookup, I don't mind starting it up. Right, so first off, the noise you're hearing, even though it's very annoying, it's just telling you that the step is out. Okay, so we can see it in the mirror there, the step is out. So I'm going to press this little button here, whichever way it might be. Maybe not, maybe that's not wired up to there then. Right, so 1 second, I'm just going to put the step in manually from this one here. Okay, so the step comes in from the switch over there, may not be wired up to this one over here. Okay, so the VB suspension, the controller here for it, So you've got various sort of configurations, various things you can do on here, and there will be paperwork for this so that you can kind of really get to know it properly. But the basics of it is you can raise the vehicle from this little switch just here, the one that has up, and lower it from the one that has lower. You can put it in off-road mode, so it will do that manually for you. It will just sort of put you in, if you're driving along, press off-road if you think you're going to get a little bit sort of, you know, well, off-road. And auto level will basically just keep you level as you drive. So if I press that now, it's level already. All right, so it hasn't had to do anything. If I want to go off-road, it's now having to do something. So it's lifting the front up a little bit. Because as I said, the off-road mode will just basically get it a bit more prepared for going off-road. So that's just basically blowing up the bags and just giving us a little bit more height at the front. And actually I watched it last night, it does go up a fair way. So it does work really, really well. Okay, so we're lifting up now really nicely, actually, really sort of quite quick how it lifts up. Okay, so all I'm going to do now, so it's just got into its off-road mode. You can see there it's just kind of staying in the blue there, so now we're in our off-road mode, and we can just drive it as we want to. If I want to go back down now, press this little button here, it's just letting off the bags, and we're going right down, and it'll stop whenever it's done. So there are obviously other modes here as well. So you've got service. So if you want to have it serviced, you can do that from there. But yeah, so it's all there. It's all working as and where, you know, as it should. Again, I'm not a huge expert on these. As you can see there, it's gone all the way down now, so that's finished. I'm not the biggest expert on these things, but all the paperwork is in the vehicle if you want to go through it and sort of work it all out properly. But yeah, all there working really nicely. You can see there the reversing camera. You have got the twin camera, so you can either have it looking straight back, so you got it as a rear view camera, or straight down so that you can really reverse up to things. So that's what I was saying about having the camera that will move for you from there. So I'll switch it off now. So hopefully the video has been helpful. Now I don't know, you know, I am well aware that there's a few things on the vehicle that I'm not a huge expert on. Main reason for that is that a lot of it is relatively unusual for us, because it's such a high kind of lots of things that we don't very often see, such as the sort of Teleco satellite systems there, the VVA suspension. So things like that, if I'm honest with you, you'd be better off having a good look through the paperwork and having a good read through the paperwork for it. If you do get any sort of questions with it, or any questions with anything at all, you can give us a ring and we will find out any information for you from people that we know. But as I say, more than happy to do any bits and pieces for you. Any issues whatsoever with the vehicle, you can let us know. And any questions that you might have from the video, or anything that you think I've missed out, just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.